By Maharaj.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And
And he says that the world is in the mind, let's say.
mhm.
Um, are you familiar with this concept?
Yes, yes, yes. Continue. Flow. Yes. And what were you reading last night?
It is a conversation among Maharaj and the other and the one who is raising questions,
Mm-hmm.
and he speaks that, and one asks about the reality of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and Mahabarashi speaks that the world is on the mind, and that the world that Mahabarashi lives is different from the world that his student lives,
Mm-hmm.
um, because he claims that he lives in this unity.
Mm-hmm.
Maharaj claims that he lives already in this unity, that he do not see uh, this this illusion, this appearance of illusion. So he don't mind anymore about things like war or what is happening around because he's already in this place.
Mm-hmm.
It is quite difficult, quite challenging, like I said, to understand because I'm not there, maybe. But I don't know. What do you think about it?
The sages say that a man is a little world. So in Maharaj, he says also in the book that he met his guru when he was 34, and when he was 37 he reached this stage that there is no separation anymore between me and the world, but there's like life. So he believed he what changed his life was the fact that he believed his teacher, his guru, that said to him, remember thyself, not in terms of selfing, the picture or the name. Just remember your true essence. Remember who you are, or remember your true essence. And he believed his teacher. And he believed those words that were said from the teacher's heart. And then there was no separation anymore. He just believed the words that he heard from the teacher after 3 years, came to their place, and there was no separation anymore. We often, how do you say, identify ourselves with name, with a figure in the mirror or in the picture. Just let's start from the very point to understand what Maharaj says to the questioner. All of us here, I believe, we were introduced in some stage of our lives to photo album. Is it true? Were you introduced to photo album? Felipe, Fernando, Jill, you were introduced. Yes. Can you just open the microphone and say yes how it is? How it is for you? How was it for you to be introduced to this photo album? You can unmute and speak also. Jill, what was happening the moment you were introduced? Yes, Jill, good morning.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good to be here. Happy to see you here.
You too. Hello, Felipe and Fernando. Bom dia.
Boom.
When I was introduced to it, then it was just like, looking at the past, um, and just getting to know like family and like all the adventures, people were having. And so it was a way to kind of, it would, well, remind me where I came from, I guess you could say, at the time. It was like
Were you,
memories.
yes, were you, when you were little, maybe, I don't know which stage you remember it, being introduced to this photo album, were you introduced with a finger, a pointing finger, and somebody says next to you, maybe an adult or so, this is one in the picture, the baby or the toddler is you. Did someone introduce this album or one of the pictures, regardless now of the family members, neighbors,
Mhm.
siblings, brothers, sisters, and so, cousins, and so? Do you remember a moment, or even vaguely, that somebody were focusing or was focusing on one picture when you were in it, let's say, and says, this is Jill, this is you when you were, let's say, brought from hospital or in kindergarten or in your third birthday or so? Yes?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, a lot of the
Yes.
pictures, I would be in the picture with my little sister and my mom or my dad. But I do remember them saying, I'm like, well, who is that? And they're like, oh, well,
Who
that's
is
you.
that? And you learn,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what is the conditioning? We learn, because now it's Jill, just yes, like represent. You are representing all of us, yes, because you're saying you were introduced to some kind of a photo that somebody took. That somebody first has to see you to take a picture. True or not true?
True, true.
Has to see you, to be present in the same space to take a photo, and then to, if it's from, now they don't develop anymore because everything is just as it is, but has to be present to take a picture, to develop it, and you were told, or you were introduced to this photo, and which says, Jill, this is you when you were 3 months old. You see how the conditioning is being made? There is a
Absolutely.
name which is connected first of all to the figure, to the body, to the baby. There is a relation between the name and the essence. We say in Hebrew, not a noun, but in Hebrew we say Shem Etzem. Shem Etzem, the noun has to do with naming. So you were introduced to this, and you learn to collect all the details together. You learn, this is Jill. Yes, this is Jill in the photo when she's 3 months old, when she's 3 years, when she's 5 in kindergarten. So you learn to associate yourself with this picture and the story around the picture, and people who are standing in the same room, in the same space, in the same celebration, in the same church. And this is how the narration goes. And whatever happens in the present, somehow it's just always like being shot as an arrow to this point that you were introduced to Jill, to the name, to the appearance of Jill. But what happened one moment before Jill was introduced to the world? Or even 9 months before she was introduced to the world?
I would probably say I didn't have any recollection of me as a baby, or me as, probably just living my life and not thinking about that.
Yes, you see? So, like you were introduced to a story, to a picture, to a frame of a family, of a neighborhood. Yes, all of us were introduced, and we learned that this is the absolute truth. Nobody told us when we were 3, 4, 5 years old, next to this picture, that somebody says, this is you when you were 5, when you were 6, when you're 7. This is not who you are. On contrary, on every step along the way, we were, how do you say, facing the fact that this is who we are. The finite body and a name, this is who we are. And it gives a lot of stress. Because the soul, or the essence of life, is infinite. It's like the scroll of Esther. it is impossible to concise infinite and finite. And from this poor trial comes a lot of anxieties and phobias and illnesses. This is just impossible. Just for an example, I was in 10th grade in school, high school, and I told my teacher, the one that is seen in the mirror is not me. And she said, don't look at the mirror. She didn't understand. So there are people that there is a slim notion that it cannot be. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. Yes, that a soul, infinite soul, can be manifested in a finite body. It's just impossible. And a lot of struggles, because if there's a bit of space inside, there is a struggle, because the surrounding, the education, TV, whatever goes around, everything works against it. Yes, this is who you are, this is how you look, this is how the fashion is in this year, this is how people appear, this is the treatment that they do to get to look even better, and so this is how it is. Accept it as a fact of life. This is not a fact of life. The fact of life is that is one. Is that we are infinite. This is the fact and the only fact. All the rest is coming and going, appearing and disappearing. So, just to return to Fernando's question, when Maharaj says this sentence, this is it. This is the only truth. All the rest of the questions that the questioner asks along the books comes from those different perspectives of finite self. So if finite self appear and disappear, why should we worry, all of us, of how we look in the mirror, in the vitrina, every glass along the street, every pimple? Why? It comes and goes, and why should we worry about it? Are you worrying, let's say, if you look at the tree and you see one day the leaf is green, after 3 weeks it is dry, and after 4 weeks the leaf is gone, blown in the wind, goes somewhere. We are not bothered from the tree and its leaves, but we are bothered if we have a pimple somewhere, yes? And we believe this is ourselves. And I'm just giving an example of a pimple, but any kinds of appearance on a human body level. We are bothered. We're dealing with the body like if it was our essence, the source of life. No, the body is just an expression of life that is being animated from the source. And of course, the body is not who we are. Not the body as arms, leg, and soul. Not the thoughts, not the sentiments, not the dreams, not the expressions, nothing. So why to worry? This is the, and when you read the book, this is what you get a sense. This is what Maharaj says to the questioner. I believe there were different questioners. There's just say question and Maharaj is answering. I believe the questioning came from many students. They were collected. But all the questions are coming from the finite self. It's quite simple. Because in infinite, there is knowing, not knowledge, not Etz Hadat Tov V'Ra, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but this is a knowing of the essence of which is infinite. Yes? We were also trained to believe, and we were tamed to believe, that we could not live or we could not appear here if not our parents take care, foster. Of course, it's not true. Of course. Also, the bodies, so to speak, of the parents, the living parents, are coming and going. So everything sits on a very shaky legs. All this finite perspective, very, very shaky. Did you understand, Fernando? Jill? Felipe?
Yes. If you look from this perspective, the eternal, I can understand.
Because consciousness speaks regardless of being in a body or not. Why people are afraid? There are 8 billion people now on the planet Earth. At some point, beyond being babies, if they have a bit of cognition, there's understanding of, yes, some day it's going to end, the life of the body. People are afraid of this. Why to be afraid? It's not real. It's not real. Consciousness is not dependent on the appearance of a body. Do you understand that? It's not dependent on it. There is a beautiful passage in the book when Maharaj says, consciousness wants to express itself here. Suddenly, a certain woman on the planet Earth feels she needs to be pregnant for some kind. She doesn't know even why. Yes, but those are not two different things. And there isn't any connections between the parents and the children. People tend to think bloodline and all of this. It's not, it has nothing to do with it. The parents are just basically a vehicle through which, or a gate, this will appear, but there is no connection. Therefore, about Maharaj, and this is very interesting fact because he lived it, there was no documented there was no documentation about his name, about his birthplate, about his birth date. All of these people tried to collect later because he did not believe in all of it. He said, it doesn't matter through which gate you came to be, who are your parents, what is your name. Whenever you or the body arrived, it doesn't matter. So all of those things, all this triangle around him does not exist. Not name, no parents, and no place of date and a date of birth. Those were added later to create such a picture, such a notion of such a figure, character, and so persona, but there isn't. And look around us, how the culture or finite life are all the time evolving around those things, like birthdays and parents and the date of birth and maps of birth, and try to tell the future according to the date of birth, and names and giving names and baby showers. But what so much so, and people even bother to celebrate a birthday every year, which, by the way, enforces more and more and more the finite self. The more people celebrate their own birthday, whether by making parties or friends calling them or they meet for a restaurant, for a cake, for a coffee. The more they do it, the more they enforce the condition of finite self. It brings a lot of anxiety because it's also not true. So why to cage yourself in? It has no meaning. Not the birthday, not the appearance, not the place of birth, not the naming in a christening or in any party that the name is being given to a child, to a baby. It doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. It's just a load. This is what it is. Because comes the thinker. This is my name. This is my address. This is... It's heavy to carry. Life is happening on a moment, and life is not dependent on our doing it all. And to walk around with those stories, with those histories about certain family, few generations, uncles, aunts, their occupations, their addresses, their holidays, their parties, it's just too much. Too much load. It's unnecessary, and more of all, it's not truth. Because what we call the uncle, we just say the uncle, but we don't know what they think, how do they behave, we just train them to believe this is uncle, this is aunt, ta, 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 ta. But everyone has a life in the moment. And life is a moment based on emptiness. But the hook, and this is the bait that we are carrying with us, that this is my uncle, and we are walking with this caravan of figures, that imaginary world that does not exist. To go with this armor of family around, it's heavy. Why to walk with this? Is it our own making? It's just life which is happening. Few people are telling you about those figures, few threads, and you walk with this armor of family, and inside of the family there's me and myself and my story. It's not true. It's not true. Now, regarding to this opening sentence that consciousness experience the world. Look at a baby. When a baby is born, in the first few days, you can unmute and speak according to what you have met in the field or so. When babies first born, are they incapable of seeing? Recognizing? With your experience with babies, even of kittens, are they incapable of seeing, recognizing? Are they or are they not?
It would be my understanding that they have limited sight for a period of time, and it would be impossible for them to, well, I guess, I don't know about impossible. They wouldn't be able to recognize who their parents even were.
Yes. Yes. We say blue-eyed, yes? So at the beginning, they see just foggy. It just what we are trained to capture as the world, as a tree, as a garden, is not coming immediately for a baby, for a newborn. It happens through a process. So who experienced the world, Fernando? Going to the question or to the book. Who experienced the world? You can unmute and speak. It would be wonderful. Yes. Yes. Questions, Jill, Felipe, Fernando? Any question?
I have a question.
Mhm.
So, I mean, would it be safe to say that we live our lives basically based on lies, or live our
Yeah.
lives based on lies just to maybe fit into society?
Yes. Yes. And it's heavy, and it's not true, and it creates a lot of diseases because we believe that yes, we are this lie, and it creates a sense of choking, of heaviness, of yes, of closure, of unopened horizons, of jail. We live, yes. Just drop it. We are not the fruit of our parents. We are not the fruit of the time. We don't have a birthday. We don't have a name. It's easier. Just drop it. Just drop it.
Well, my experience living here is there's a lot of programming of everything, and so it's challenging to I guess kind of weave through all of this now that I know this. Um, it's kind of sad, but I mean, I guess it's just it's just life.
Don't have to accept it. You don't have to accept it. This is what the paper says. Yes, go. Paper says something. Driving license says something, and so. But think about it in this way, that if you were now playing on a stage or on a movie, and you had to play a certain figure, a certain role. So, okay, we make it. Reading before the show starts, or before theaters, before the shooting, the movie, but you are introduced to a figure that you need to play on stage. Her name is Jennifer, and she now a student in college, and she has a boyfriend, and it's the same thing. If you were now going upstage as an actress, you would have come as this Jennifer, with all the details. And you would have acted like Jennifer, like a student acts, because this is what the role demands. But this is on stage or in front of the camera. But we are not those. We are not those who are carrying those names, birthdays, and so were born in a certain country, in certain culture, though we brought up in different languages and so, but this is not who we are. The fact, in a way, that we speak different languages, in a way, is a testimony for temporal appearance here. Because consciousness does not need words. So, okay, some people look at their wallet, they see there are people like this. Also, you don't have to look at the wallet and see your driving license. They look at the picture in somewhere of a site. They believe this is who they are. They have calendars with birthday and so, and really worshipping. This is kind of idolatry. Yes, to worship the picture, to worship the birthday. It's just worshipping just mud. Yes, because what kind of a life does have a body after the last breath is leaving? Just drop dead somewhere. Bring an ambulance, call someone to evacuate, yes? And this is it. This is the first idolatry. is one's man's idolatry is to look in the mirror, to think that this image is himself and this image can move because it has a power of its own, it can think, it can write, it can... Of course, it's nonsense. Take the breath from one and it cannot do anything. Cannot open, close eyes, cannot breathe, cannot just drop dead. So why to worship something that any moment can drop dead? Will stink, will have to be buried or cremated or so. Why to worship such a fallacy? Why? Why to be sad when somebody calls you names? Why to be sad? If there is no identification, why? Weinreb says a very beautiful sentence about knowing and sin, because we were taught, well, sinner, you're a sinner, you're a sinner. Weinreb says there's only one sin, S-I-N. What is it? It's not nobody will get punished about it, but to think that we know. We think that we know. What do we think that we know? Almost said Jennifer. Jill, what do you think? What do we think that we know? Give me an example to something that we think that we know.
I would think that I know myself better than anybody else, which, yeah, I could see it would pose to be a problem. And I could also see how that could fall into idolatry, like I'm studying myself or something.
Yes. This is just an example. Yes. We tend to believe that we are our name, our address, our experience, or what is happening to us. What is happening to us is not who we are. Again, what is happening to us, what we might judge as good, bad, or even gray, whatever happens to us is not who we are. Yes? Whatever happens to us, whatever garment the days offers for us as finite self, is not infinite, so it means it's not who we are. Whatever happens to us, any scenario, is not who we are. Do we understand that? Fernando? So whatever experience there is in the clinic. Yes, Fernando, can you speak? Oh, Jill, yes?
Yes, I would say, of course, I work as a lawyer. This is the role, right, that you were speaking. And also in this clinic. And I was here thinking, like with many experience, the more one identifies with the story, with the personal story, the more damage he feels, especially in law, working as a lawyer. It's always, you are working always with duality, because one speaks that he claims to have some right or to be offended or and so on and so forth. And the more one believes this, with all his, his being, the more one suffers. In the other hand, in the clinic, the idea is to open the perspective. This is the idea. Also Carl Jung said that the only way to heal somebody is not through, let's say, through only conversation, but through the encounter with the numinous. In other words, is the idea that only through when one can access this unity, that one can be healed. You can enter in this. You can get this conclusion. Just bringing this, so we can see that as long as we impurify this essence with objects, people, and ideas, that with claims that what is ours or right, the more we suffer because we get scattered from this unity. It's easy to say it, but it's difficult to put in practice, I would say. It's easy to speak about it, but it's quite difficult to put in practice, I would say.
Thank you. Jill, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd have another question. So yeah, maybe I don't I don't know how to word it. So all the things that we learn, I mean, just I guess living here in America or the United States is so many things that you have to do. Like even when you were talking about, if somebody is buried or if somebody is cremated. Here there's so many religions that if you are cremated, then then that's a sin. Or so it's like so many things that is taught here. I just wonder, is it by design or is it just like each individual person is making this choice? Was this like the idea of consciousness to design things this way so that different people would live different ways, or is this just something that we've just all like gone different paths? I guess I'm just trying to figure that out.
There are different appearances. There are different ways to live life. Just an example, Russians live here in Israel as well as Ethiopians. They're very different communities. Ethiopians are lighthearted. They don't take so much, how do you say, they don't relate to dignity, and so they're very lighthearted. The Russians are more heavy and they have this dignity and respect and so. They have children and those have children. They grow their children in this way, those in the other way. It's not to choose between them, it's just different. It's just different. This is appearance and this is appearance. There is no, just don't take it too personally. It's appearance. If, let's say, when you walk in nature and you see different flowers in different shapes, in different colors, in different order, they have different scent, each one. Yes, so you look at it's beautiful, filled with multiple colors and shape, and it makes your heart happy, beautiful. When we look at flowers and trees, but when we look at different expressions of human, we are immediately have a combat inside. Is it right to bury? Is it wrong to go to relate to it in a different way? Because there is natural identification. But those are as people live, the way they appear and disappear is just a manifestation. We don't have to be in struggle with it. Just, it's not that interesting. This is a way that this community live. There's another way in which this community live, and a third way, or fourth way, or sixth way. Just is not interesting. Because once we show interest in certain culture until the end of it, we want to go dig deep, and what happens is that we are withdrawn from this phenomenon, from the oneness into the details, into the manifestation, and there's a distance all the time. Creates animosity. So there are different ways. Just if you relate to those appearances of cultures, of religions as flowers in the field, so there are different flowers that appear in different seasons, in different colors, in different shape, in different fragrance. This is it. Also here in Israel, there's like people who, different communities, they live in certain forms, certain ways, certain rigid. You know, they are convinced that this is the way to live, and you listen only to this music and not to that music, and you let the Shabbat in and you let the Shabbat out. It's in your fingers. So much. This is how they speak. When do you enter the Shabbat? You enter as a doer. When do you let the Shabbat off? Where do you do the Shabbat? All this, the way people speak, you can see that they relate to living life as a lot of their own making. But there are different ways. So you just, once I used to really like your question that you ask now, and it's very legit. I used to say, okay, wow, they live like this, they speak like this, and you venture and you wonder and you research. At some point, it's just exhausting. And you withdraw your investment and you live the moment as it comes, and you don't find any interest in how people live, how they name, how they bury, how they inhale, exhale, sweat, laundry, clean, do the garden if they do, if they don't. Just, this is it. Relieve any holding. Release.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're most welcome. It's funny because now we're just unlearning or just dropping all what that we learned and we acquired, and this is how people live life. It doesn't matter which continent or which culture, which church. We learned that this, in this way, this is how the ceremony, we just, people spend so much time of accumulating way of lives, understanding, unlearning, just unlearn, forget. Abigail said something very beautiful, that she forgets. She used to go to this cycle and she keeps forget. It's great to forget. I don't remember, forget it. It's not necessary. Just unlearn. It's not important. There was a really interesting process in Israel, comes with a war, which is almost 2 years now. And Pesach, which is usually the holiday of the summarizes all holidays, was very silent, almost not being celebrated. Also, maybe also due to the weather, but not just, because usually it's milder the spring. But today was, this year it was very cold. But also neighbors express it in the elevator, that there's in a way, I would say, there's a loss. There is a feeling in Israel a sense of a loss of narration, because what used to, how do you say, hold people together, or the narration was around the holidays, whether it's newcomers, first, second, fourth generations, or but with this war and this intensive whatever is happening, and maybe it's not because of the war, I don't know, this is what is happening now. There is a deep sense of a loss of narration and just people living in the moment. Whatever comes, it can come from any direction, anything can happen. Just what happens, and this is the question that maybe Fernanda would be interested in. When this process is happening, not just to 3 or 4 people in a city, what happens if this process, the loss of narration, happens to 10 million people? A loss, a collective, a loss of narration. People just drop it. And they did not meet in a hall and like in a theater or in a cinema and voted upon this decision. It just happened. People live in the moment. There is a loss, a drop of narration. What matters, if somebody is now breathing, there's life. If he's not breathing, it's death. This is how it stands. All the rest is not necessary. I think it's beautiful. So people, we met the neighbors at the elevator last week. There is a sense of this tragedy. Yes, they go with a tragedy. The heaven is a loss of narration. It's great. There is no narration to carry. There isn't. Everything is man-made invention. Any story. Any story is invented concept. Any. It doesn't matter in which continent, in which culture, in which language, in which family. It's invented and cannot conceive life. And there's a great relief of dropping it. Because finite cannot host or hold infinite. Very simple. So, I would like to thank you for being here with us today. Wishing you a beautiful day. We can meet here tomorrow on Thursday, and then we shall Saturday do together again. Yes? Whenever you have the time. I hope you have a good time, that the storm will not be that hard on you. Thank you so much for being here. And shalom, shalom. Yes,
Thank
Andrew.
you, Eti. Thank you to you, Felipe. So good to listen to you. It's quite something, quite deep. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.